required by Richard and Reed is the CME training of course that you're gonna find in my ROR. If you have trouble putting the information for your providers, send that information to us. We only need name, role, credential, and email. We'll put the providers in the system and then send consistent emails. However, we do appreciate psych coordinators and medical consultants tracking that information. We also provide a supplementary training for residents, medical students, and staff. We find this training is very helpful, very fun as well, as we get to interact with you live. You get to ask questions to the Richard and Reed staff directly. We get to do some examples and activities with books that we provide. So we ask the providers, the age group of the books, like for them to give us an idea. We do some sort of like role play in which we have the provider and then a family coming into a Richard and Reed clinic, as well as some videos that I think are very important to watch, as it gives great examples and highlights of a provider doing a well-child visit with the Richard and Reed program to fidelity. We can move on to the next slide. Wonderful. What other resources do we provide during our site visit? We also provide labels for your shelves. Again, this may seem silly, but guys, you guys do need labels on your shelves, or whatever you are storing the books at this time. But it's easier for you, the psych coordinator, and for you, medical provider, before walking into the well-child visit, making sure that you pick the right book before you go into the well-child visit, having in mind the age of the child. We also have signs that we usually bring laminated to the site visit that do not forget to track your books for the medical providers if you're using the electronic medical records, or if you're using the old tally sheets or receipt methods. We have sites using very creative methods. Whatever the site needs or whatever is helpful for the site, we encourage, as long as those numbers are as accurate as possible. And that, of course, the old do not forget your book. So that's more for the family to say like, hey, like, it's towards the middle of the visit and I have not received my book. And then it's a reminder for the provider to go grab the book before the well-child visit continues. Next slide, please. Wonderful. So 2 more slides before I pass it on to Sejal. I promise I'm gonna make it super quick. So we have a couple of surveys that you're gonna see on the chat. Surveys that are going out now are Townhall topics. I wanna make sure that you guys use this setting for, like you find the setting as helpful as possible. So we wanna make sure that we provide important topics that are currently relevant to you, to your site, and to the network, of course. If you see that there is a topic that you don't find in the Townhall, make sure that you add it. We do take it into consideration. Hopefully for the fall of FY25, we're hoping to do a couple of these Townhalls in person as well. So please stay tuned. And then we also have the training at your site survey. We want to make sure that you let us know how you're monitoring training at a site, if you are doing your own training for residents or medical students, and if you would like us to do that supplemental training as well. We also have the Richard and Reed Award nomination survey. So the nominations are closing soon. So if you would like to nominate a site coordinator or a medical provider that is a champion, please do so before March 31st. And last but not least, the Richard and Reed Champion Spotlight. We want to highlight the beautiful work and very important work that you do at your site. So make sure that you complete the survey, providing some very simple questions as well as a picture, as we would like to highlight you guys in our newsletter and social media channels. Next slide. And before I forget, please save the date. We have our award ceremony event on June 6, 2024. This is going to be highlighting the providers that won awards for the nominations that I just mentioned. Most importantly, also, it's going to be a wonderful networking opportunity for you to ask questions to your fellow medical providers, of initiatives that they're doing at the site, and also to connect to some of our wonderful partners that are going to do a mini resource fair for you all to collect community resources that may be relevant for you and for your site. And then with that, I'm going to pass it to Sejal. Again, Sejal is our wonderful Senior Manager of Books and Literacy, and her information is right here. Please, I encourage you to ask questions. Again, I think you're going to find this presentation very helpful in order to make your site even more successful and following to fidelity our program. Thank you. Passing it to you, Sejal.
Thank you all so much for taking the time to hear about the story of our books. We needed to get a pun in there, so please forgive us. We're going to be going through how did the books come to the sites. It's less mysterious when these boxes appear. The importance of site information and book tracking information, as Jesse touched upon. The timing of the orders to meet book need. There's quite a bit going on behind the scenes. And supply versus storage. We know that all of you are in different spaces. Sometimes you're borrowing storage from another division or another unit. So we really want to be mindful of meeting the supply that you need for your children, but also not overwhelming your storage capacity. And that is something we're working on improving. So here we have a diagram with the book flow and time course. Don't worry about any jargon you see. I'm going to explain it all. This is just to make things a little bit easier than throwing a lot of text up there. So this is kind of the cycle that we go through when we are doing a bulk book order. So first things first, we assess need. As Jesse discussed, that's why the details of the progress report are so important. We always want to be coming from an evidence base. So we're looking at the site quality classifications of yellow and green. Then we're also looking at the well child visit data from the 6 months to 5 years. And we're also looking at the book distribution. Typically, we try to focus the orders on sites that are distributing at least 50% of the books. And you can understand why. We don't want to go ahead and send 500 books to a site that has a 10% distribution rate. We would rather that you go through what you have, or Met is able to work with you to improve distribution to the families before we send more books your way. So it's not punitive. We just want to really be evidence-based in the way we're doing things and have logic inform how we're selecting the sites. Truth be told, we all know that it's a little bit of an incentive and carrot situation there, that if you're updating your progress reports and you're distributing the books the best that you can, you're tracking the books the best that you can, that you're going to get more books. So it is kind of a little bit of a carrot there, but all to serve the children to fidelity. That's always the goal. What I'm showing you here is, okay, so let's say we've assessed our need. What I have on the left of the slide is that can take us anywhere to 5 to 10 days. The reason there's a range there is if everything is accurate, we can turn that around pretty much in 5 business days. That these are the sites that would benefit from this particular order. We've got them. Let's move forward to the next step. However, we can often go into 10 business days if information is missing. Then that's where we create a delay. May not seem like much, but 5 business days is a lot in the world of working with publishers in terms of finding out who is going to be interested in providing these books. So again, just a plug, you'll be sick of hearing it by the end of this presentation, but that we want, we want to have as many of the sites with accurate data as possible. So now let's say we've assessed our need. Let's say we have these 100 sites that are going to get books. Then what I need to do on my end is submit an RFP. This is a request for proposal or a request for publishing to the publishers. And so I put in great detail the demographics that we're looking for, the age population, the types of titles, DEI responsive, what percentage of Spanish, what percentage of English, the breakdown between the children who will need the board books versus the paperbacks. All of that goes into a document that then goes out to our publisher network. We don't have favorites. We send them to every publisher that we have a contact with who might be interested in. And then that process can also take 2 to 4 weeks just because of the variation that goes on with the publishers and their timeline. That's out of our control. Once the publishers have seen the information, they submit what we call bids, meaning that they're bidding for the order and that they want to be able to be the one who supplies it. At this point in time, Reach Out and Radio Greater New York is in a great position of strength because at this point, on average, we're receiving anywhere between 8 to 10 bids from interested publishers. And we're hoping to continue to expand that. And so then it takes about 2 to 3 weeks for me to then loop back, review the bids, and then submit the top bids, cost analysis and everything to our executive director, Emily. And then we select a publisher who's going to be able to provide us the most books at the best price so we can serve as many children as possible, while of course only keeping in mind the highest quality. And then we confirm with our partners. For those of you who are wondering who are the partners, some of you who are familiar with Book Buddies, which we'll be coming to on another slide, will already know this, but we are able to get this amazing pricing through the bulk orders through partner participation. Oftentimes we have our local libraries joining us. Some of the sites contribute their own funding to this process. We have, in our last round of Book Buddies, we had several RORs in different states join us. And we often have partners from Reads and Cities First Readers come in. So everyone pulling their budgets together is what gets us this amazing pricing. And also why, again, we need the accurate information because we are in a unique position of having 219 sites. A lot of our other partners are they're executively deciding on a quantity and sending that to their storage unit to be distributed at a later date. We're asking for direct ship to the sites for the books to be used immediately. So we also don't want to be the rate limiting step to other partners having their orders submitted and delivered. So that's also why it doesn't just affect us, it can affect the partners in the finalizing of the order. So between the bid and then us saying, okay, these are the titles we absolutely want, these are the titles we don't, that's another 2 to 3 weeks of back and forth between me and the publishers. And then I really want to highlight this. So this gets its own color and its own shape. It takes 2 to 6 months when we say, okay, the order is final, everything is right and tight, to the actual delivery of those books. So that is why, as you'll see when we come to the later part of the presentation, if you give us very short notice that your site is running low, or the emails that really give us palpitations are, my site is out of books. We can't just magically give them to you because we are getting fresh content from publishers. Sometimes we have opportunities for in-kind donations of brand new books, but those are hit or miss. We don't know when donors are necessarily coming to the table. So we don't want to rely on that. Our bulk book orders, our foundation of us being able to provide books to you on a consistent basis. So please, please, please let us know as soon as you think. We ask for a 2 months minimum, but let us know as soon as you think that, hey, I think in 3 to 4 months, our site's going to be out. You need to let us know that, or me specifically, because then I can say, okay, let me flag the site for inclusion in an upcoming bulk order, and then we can work together on that. 2 months is the best case scenario, where we have a publisher who has inventory that is in the country and they have warehouses and they're able to get books shipped to us as soon as their processing is done. However, when we worked with Barefoot Books, and this is a situation for a lot of publishers, their books were coming from China. They're produced in China and then they're sent overseas. I literally had emails from Barefoot saying that our books are on a boat now. I mean, this is the actual reality. So it's understandable, but you can imagine why that then extends the process to 6 months. That's why many of you got your book deliveries from last spring Book Buddies in the fall of this year. That's how long it takes. And if we start getting into translations to other languages, it often takes longer. So please, please, please keep that in mind. That's why I'm harping on that point. And then we get to the winning finish line for everyone, which is the books are delivered and you have them and you give them to the families and you track them. And so that's that. And then we start the cycle all over again. So just making a note of that. I'm going to move on to the next slide. There will be time for questions at the end, so don't worry if you didn't memorize this diagram, but I just wanted to talk through some of the points. So then moving on, I touched on this briefly, but what are the criteria for book allotments? So like we said, analysis of progress reports. We look at the book need for ages 6 months to 5 years, the well child visit data to project the possible need for a 1-year period, a 6-month period at a minimum, the book distribution rate. We highlighted this here. If you're at less than 85%, because that is actually our standard that we want to see everyone above 85%, please contact us. Between MET and books, we can help you get there. We can help you figure out what's going on. Yes, I said that as a minimum, we set 50% book distribution for inclusion in an order, but we still want to get to the 85% or greater as a program metric and goal. So, if you can be proactive with us and saying, hey, we're struggling with the book distribution and that's okay, then we can figure out how to get you to that next margin. And then there's the quality assessment. You are all familiar with the red, yellow, green. Very few sites are red, which is good. And more are going to be coming into the yellow and green with all the site visit work that Jesse and Veronica have been doing. But really, we start with the greens and then the yellows. And right now, we don't put reds on the order because obviously we need to do some kind of improvement there before we can be confident that the books can be received and distributed as planned for our program model. Like we always say, we're not a book giveaway program. We're working from a place of early relational health and the model between the provider and the parent. So we want to be very structured in the way that these books are being sent out. And so it's not just a matter of, okay, but just, give us books. Like we have to actually make sure that we're meeting our standards. And then coming to that, accurate contact and shipping information. With the help of Matt, we were able to turn things around relatively fast, but we did have, I believe it was 5 to 7 sites with the deliveries for the Spring Book Buddies where there were either confusions about the shipping information on the courier side or refusals of delivery by someone who is not familiar with the process. And thankfully, Barefoot Books worked with us very graciously to get those reshipped or turned around, but that is at an added cost to us, which means that we may need to put that into the budget for the next order that we do. And we don't want to be spending money on rerouting. We want to be spending money on books. Most of these orders, the publishers already include the initial shipping cost in our pricing. So we don't have to then take that on. But if there are complications arising from our end, we have to take responsibility for those costs. And of course, more important than even the cost is the delay then of your site getting those books that were initially intended for the delivery window. So please just proactively make sure that if there's a change in your contact information, a site coordinator, your site moves and you have a new shipping address, please make sure as like a reflex to go in and say, I need to update my ROR because that's where we're pulling the information from. We pull the contact information for attention to and the shipping information right from my ROR. We download it directly. So for us, yes, we are sending shipping notices to everyone to say, hey, you're expecting the shipment. We did that the last time, but we still had these errors. So we really do need all of your help as well, so that we're doing very little quality control after the fact, after the deliveries are going out. And then the accurate book tracking is also key. Again, if you need any suggestions from Matt on better ways to do that, if you're at the point where you might be able to get it into an EMR, that's of course ideal. We know that's not possible for everyone, but we do want to make sure that that is really accurate. While we do have some sites where it seems to be quite low, we also have sites where it will say something like distribution 400%. We need to know what is going on there and how that's happening and is that real? And if so, why? Are people giving away books to other kiddos or in the waiting room or to siblings, which we know is always a want, but we have to be careful of that for supply. So please, just keep a note of that if it's more than 100%. Book Buddies, which I'm going to come to in more detail, does run twice a year. That's the collective model that was outlined on the diagram slide, the timing, the processes that go on behind the scenes for that. Some other publisher opportunities may occur, but again, we really rely on Book Buddies. We may then say, hey, CFR Week is sponsoring this publisher. We can get a good price. Let's order 5,000 of this title, as we did with Jefferson actually last year. But again, that's usually a relatively small quantity. It's usually curated for some purpose for other. It's really not meant to represent our total supply. And then sites can also opt into Book Buddies. A few of you have in the past few cycles, ROR Mount Sinai, ROR Montefiore, ROR NYU Mineola. A few of you have, been able to opt in. So if you have some funding and you want to contribute it to the Book Buddies order, you can. We'll be also doing our own allotment for your site. But if you say, hey, we have the money, we want to spend it and get an extra X number of books, you are welcome to do that. The sites can also use their own funds, as you all, many of you know, to order through My ROR, which will give you books through Scholastic or All About Books, which has the fastest turnaround, truthfully. And we're not going to take time at this point to go through the order process because in the interest of time, we know many people are familiar. However, if you're not and you have any questions, please reach out to me and I can walk you through it step by step. And then always just a note here that we always strive to source DEI responsive books. This is central to our mission. We're going to continue to stand by that. And we have a written policy that will be forthcoming spring, summer 2024 with how we select the books, what we can select, what we will not select, and so on. So this is the Book Buddies slide. As you guys, just heard, this is our twice yearly collective buying program. It's a major source of our book supply. Just to give you a sense of the scale, the orders are usually in the range of 50,000 at a minimum to usually 100K books and upwards. Last spring was an anomaly. We had 325,000 books to distribute, which is why we scared you with storage questions, but it was a great opportunity. It was because we were given that option through a publisher because we had so many partners join in and they recognized the work we were doing towards diversity. So we may end up in that position again, that we have a 200,000, 250,000 book order. And so that's something that you want to be a part of, ideally. And so that goes back to having your information accurate and up to date. Given time to actual delivery, as we went over, the accurate information is key. Our most recent order in Fall Book Buddies was our first 100% bilingual book order, which was super exciting. We were able to source 60,000 books in Arabic, Bengali, Chinese, Creole, Portuguese, and Spanish. 89 sites selected on the criteria we described will be receiving the books this April. Please, please, please stay tuned to your shipping notifications. Everyone will receive a shipping notice, and we'll also provide you a title list with the age for each title, so you know which books are for which age category. If you have any questions at that point that you receive the shipping notification, hey, this doesn't look correct, we had a change, whatever, please get back to us immediately. Also, just a note here that we're working on improving this as well. Approximately 20% of our population's language need is unreported in my ROR. So in as much as you can, we know it can be challenging, but in as much as you can, dig into that 20% to find out more about their language needs. That's helpful to us when we do a bilingual order again. We want to be able to capture children who might be hidden in the unreported 20% and make sure that their language needs are being met. We're also going to proactively ask sites, as we said before, to confirm that the shipping information is accurate. And I know it feels like we're being very stern, but this is for program quality. Just like Jesse said with the progress reports, the March 1st is going to be that firm deadline. We're going to be doing the same for book orders going forward. We're going to keep to a very firm timeline out of respect for the publishers, because when we start to ask for extensions, it may not look professional on our end, and we also don't want to create stress on their end. They have inventory, they have stock limitations just like we do, and we don't want to be the cause of asking them to hold our order for, controllable reasons. If there is no reply you will receive plenty of reminders as always, but if there's not any reply or an ability to fix whatever issue is by the firm deadline, we will need to reallocate your books to different sites until the next order, till whatever it is can be straightened out. So please, keep all of this in mind as we can, we're trying to grow and expand our book distribution, our number of sites, but we have to make sure that we're doing everything the best we can before we grow further. So what do you do if your site is running low? As mentioned, if your site has funding, please order through my ROR to quickly obtain the books through Scholastic or All About Books. It really is the fastest turnaround. We know that depending on your budget, it may not get you a great quantity of books, but it will be something, at least a stopgap measure, and then contact me so we can work on getting you into the next order. Like I said, I need at least 2 months notice to put you into a bulk order. But if I say, oh, hey, this donor is just giving us, 10,000 books brand new, I can then say, let me send an allotment to this site. So let me know right away. And other supply notes, we are no longer accepting gently used books for use in my ROR program. I know this question has come up here and there, so I just wanted to address it. This will be in our book policy, but right now we already have a written donation policy that we've shifted our focus to new book donations only, and in line with our policy on content. Also, Billy Books and Book Fairies are great resources for options for on-site book fairs. They also have great pricing, great title selection, so that's a possibility. If you want more books and you don't want to wait for our order, we encourage you to make use of this. book fairies as well. And also these might be sources of books for older children. As we know, sometimes the older siblings understandably would like a book. We want to be in the position to provide them with one, but not from our supply for the ROR program itself. And they're usually not age appropriate for those children anyway. But this way you're able to address that. Jesse, I did see a hand
Yes.
raised.
Carla, please feel free to ask your question.
Yes, thank you so much. Good morning. Thank you. Hi, Suja. Hi, Jessica, and the team. I just wanted to ask, in case we will have some funding for purchasing the books, um, I just wanted to know, is there an Scholastic page, or how do we order these books ourselves if we have the funding to do it?
Yes, Carla, absolutely. Just in the interest of time, we decided not to do screenshots and go through the process here. But if you contact me after this, we can set up a time and I'll walk you through the My ROR portal so you can see exactly how to do it.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're
And
very
I
welcome.
I'm so sorry, Sejal. We're gonna send a couple of screenshots too, if this would be helpful for you guys if you don't know where in my ROR this is located. But I agree with Sejal, if you guys could contact her directly for further guidance. We have this resource available and Sejal has volunteered her time. Please, please, please reach out to her and make sure that you get that tour and then maybe potentially ask questions about book status for your site as well as any other questions you may have.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next slide for now. This is just the fun slide. So this is to show everyone, the types of books that you can be getting through Book Buddies, and many of you already have. These are actual titles that have come in through our last order with Barefoot Books, and then also a highlight of two of the titles that are going to be coming in our book delivery of bilingual books. So we have Scrap Metal Swan, which has themes of STEM and for the Black community and young girls into STEM. And it also has a multi-generational component. It has an environmental cleanup component. So it covers a lot of different themes for young children. Yeah, I wanted to highlight Mindful Talk, Love and Kindness. Yes, we've had this title before, but now we're going to have it in simplified Chinese, which is really exciting. The More We Get Together, that's the Bengali version that we're going to be sourcing to our sites. And then Dumpling Day, which is just a really delightful book with foods from so many different communities and showing how so many different cultures have and love dumplings. And then we maybe just call it different things. And then Rosa Loves Dinosaurs is again the theme of, just flipping any preset gender expectations on our heads. Everyone can love dinosaurs. Everyone can play with dinosaurs. And then Rosa has a Latinx background. So that's also representation. And so it's really just a nice, I guess you could say collage of all of the types of diverse books, and that we're really not just saying that, we're really trying to implement it, whether it's the content, the author, the illustrator, all three, the language. We're really trying to make sure that we hit that with every title, and it's bringing some element of diversity, equity, or inclusion to the table. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jesse. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sejal. Before I open it up to questions very quickly, I do see that Barbara is asking, will you send out a recording of this meeting? Yes, as well as very helpful links that we discussed throughout the presentation that Sejal kindly provided us, as well as some of the resources that we talked about at the beginning in case that you haven't received them previously. And very quickly, we wanted to also cover the importance of tracking. I know that we mentioned it in the beginning, and Sejal also brought it up again. So tally sheets are available for you guys to use, electronic medical records. And then this is just an example of how books can store. Again, the picture in the middle is a picture taken from Elmhurst Hospital. Hi, Dr. Bolivar. I see you in the chat. Thank you so much for letting us take pictures of your beautiful site. So I do think that the labeling of the books is extremely important for the medical providers, especially to make sure that they have easily accessibility to the books before going into the well-child visit. I know how much work it is to be either a site coordinator or a medical consultant. We are aware of that. That's why we're here to help. We set up these spaces for you guys to tell us what will be maybe like a good idea for us to provide additional support. And with that, of course, we are a program that collects stories. So if you have a good story to share from a family that has given you feedback about the books that they receive, I know that because of HIPAA, you have to fill out a release form, but pictures are welcome. If you want us to interview the family directly or come to your site to take those pictures, let us know. We love to collect those stories, as we love to tell the world other sites, to put you guys as example, those sites that are green in the green category, that are doing everything reach out and read to fidelity. We want to make sure that we highlight you to the world, to other sites, to the donors, to our team, to make sure that we have those lift up stories of not only our wonderful reach out and read medical provider community, but also the families that we serve at the end of the day. And then with that, please, I'm gonna pass it to Sejal again, just in case that there's any other questions. So if we could go to the next slide.